Hi guys, Breakup Brad here. And in this video, I'll be explaining what makes an ex miss you and want you back. So if you're hoping for a second chance with your ex, this is going to be an absolute must-watch video because you're going to learn several important lessons, including number one, why you need your ex to miss you in order to have any chance of getting them back. Number two, what common mistakes most people make that prevent their ex from missing them. Number three, what generally is going to make your ex start to miss you. Number four, what messages that you can actually send to your ex to help them miss you even more. And finally, number five, some common signs that indicate that your ex is already missing you. So let's get started. So to begin with, I want to share a very important fact with you. Now, this is an unavoidable fact, and it's also one that most people don't realize. And that is that in order to ever really truly get back with your ex, in order for you to have any kind of meaningful long-term future together as a couple, your ex needs to want to be with you again. It has to be their choice and a decision that they feel as though they've made on their own. You can't, talk them back into loving you again, or talk them into taking you back. That's a decision that only your ex can make for themselves. What you can do, though, is help your ex come to that kind of conclusion. You can ensure that you're doing everything in your power to lead them to a decision that breaking up was a mistake and that they should ask you for another chance. Now, there are a couple of things that you can do to shift your ex's feelings in that direction and help them reach that point. But by far the biggest one is to make them miss you like crazy. So think about it this way. If your ex is desperately missing you, that's going to be an all-consuming emotion. It's hard to think about anything else when you miss someone like mad because it's a very powerful emotion that you just can't ignore. If you've ever been separated from a loved one for a long period of time or had someone close to you pass away, then you probably know the feeling. But unlike when a close family member dies, your ex has a simple way to overcome those emotions and end the heartache they're feeling when they miss you just by asking you to get back together. That's the only easy and quick way for your ex to stop their pain. But if they don't miss you, it's extremely unlikely they're going to change their mind about breaking up. Why would they want to take you back if they're doing fine without you? Why would they feel any kind of urgency or pressure to agree to give your relationship another shot? It's those feelings of missing you that are going to lead them to decide that they need you back. So, like I said, making them miss you is critical. Okay, now if you're going to take just one key lesson from this video, it should probably be this one, so pay close attention. I say this because there are one or two critical mistakes that most people make in your situation without even realizing it. And these are mistakes that destroy your chance of ever getting back together. So you really must avoid making these mistakes if you want to ensure that you give yourself the best possible shot at winning back your ex. So mistake number one is showing desperation or neediness. So if you want your ex to miss you and want you back, you need to avoid, looking overly emotional, desperate, or clingy. You really want to be acting as though you're not really that upset about the breakup and that you're not particularly bothered by the idea of going your separate ways. So that means you definitely don't want to be posting, sad quotes or lyrics on your social media, or telling your ex how badly you want them back, or writing them love notes promising to change or do things differently if they'll just give you another chance. Simply put, these are unattractive traits that will confirm for your ex that breaking up was the right choice. They'll feel like they can continue to enjoy being single, continue dating around and seeing if they can find somebody new to replace you. And they'll feel no urgency at all, knowing that you'll be waiting for them, eager to take them back anytime they want. So this basically gives them plenty of time to slowly adapt to life without you, and it doesn't let them feel the full consequences of breaking up. Mistake number two is not using the no contact strategy. Now, there's a very common misconception most people have when it comes to the famous no contact strategy, and that is the idea that your ex might forget about you or slip away during the period of no contact. Now, this is an understandable and very natural thought process. After all, if you don't talk or interact with your ex for weeks or even months, it feels like you're doing nothing to win them back. It feels like you're letting any chance to change their mind slip away and sitting back and taking a passive approach to the situation. And that can be a very scary feeling. But this is actually a completely backwards way of thinking about things. Because in reality, no contact is the best way to make your ex miss you and want you back. I mean, as we've already discussed, your ex really needs to miss you in order for them to change their mind and decide that they want to give your relationship another chance. And if you're constantly talking and engaging with your ex, how are they going to miss you? You can't miss somebody who's always around. So the more you're willing to be part of your ex's life after the breakup, the less they're going to miss you. It really is just as simple as that. And this is why no contact is critical in 99% of breakups. If you want to maximize your ex's heartache and ensure that they really feel the pain of suddenly losing you completely, then you need to vanish from their daily life as much as humanly possible. And of course, no contact is designed to do exactly that. So while it may feel like your chances are slipping away during the period of no contact, you really are actually doing the very best thing that you can in order to maximize the pain for your ex and ensure that they feel the full consequences of the breakup. Now, those are the top 2 mistakes that people often make without even realizing it. And this actually ties in nicely with the next topic I want to cover, which is what actually makes your ex miss you. But before we get to that though, just a quick reminder for anybody who's already made one of these mistakes that I just talked about. I do offer one-on-one coaching, and it really is quite affordable. So if you've made some mistakes already and you need some guidance and help on turning things around before it's too late, just go to breakupbrad.com/coaching and register for my coaching program. I've helped over 130,000 clients get their ex back over the past 13 years, and I can definitely help you ensure that you get the best possible chance at being my next success story. Now, this is especially important if you're already in a bad situation and you can't afford to make any more mistakes with your ex. So again, visit breakupbrad.com/coaching to see my current availability and start working with me one-on-one beginning today. Okay, now moving on to the things that make your ex miss you. Number 1, your absence. Well, as I've just explained, the single biggest thing that will make an ex miss you is your absence. So disappearing from their life as much as possible and as soon as possible after the initial breakup is by far the single most effective way to make your ex miss you like crazy. Every time you talk to your ex, hang out with them, and give them what they need to quash those feelings of missing you, you're really helping them stop missing you. And slowly over time, they're going to learn to live without you, and your window of opportunity to get them back will begin to close. So the more you can vanish from their life immediately, the more intense their heartache is going to be, and the more you're going to increase the chances that they change their mind about breaking up. Now, I like to use your smartphone as a great example to kind of illustrate this. So most of you watching this video will probably have a phone in your pocket, and you probably use that phone, constantly throughout your day. Use it to contact your friends and family, check the time, browse the internet, watch YouTube videos like this one. Really, it's just an important object in your daily life, and you use it all the time. So losing your phone is going to really suck, right? I mean, if I suddenly snatch that phone out of your hand and told you can't have it back, you're going to be pissed, and you're really going to miss having it around. You'll have to find, a new way to contact your friends, set your alarm clock in the morning, browse Instagram, etc. It's going to be a big adjustment, especially at first, and it's not going to be fun. But on the other hand, what if I told you that you just can't use your phone for an hour today, and then you can't use it for 2 hours tomorrow and 3 hours the next day, and so on? Then you'd have a lot more time to adjust to living without a phone. You'd be able to write down your friends' phone numbers, buy an alarm clock, print off the train schedule, etc. So it's just going to be way easier to prepare yourself to live without a phone if I take it away from you slowly over the course of several weeks. So by slowly, weaning your dependency on a smartphone as you get less and less time with it each day, it really makes the whole thing easier and a lot less painful. And you're also going to miss having that phone around a lot less if it happens gradually than if it happens suddenly. And really, the situation for your ex is very similar. You were an important part of their life when you were still together. Chances are you spent a lot of your day talking or being with one another. You had routines and habits that you were comfortable with. And your ex really came to depend on having you around for support and affection and companionship. So for your ex, it's going to be far more emotionally painful and more shocking if they lose all of those benefits overnight. They'll have to suddenly face life without your companionship and your support. They'll have to learn to go to bed without saying goodnight to you, find somebody else to vent their frustrations to, and build new routines to replace the ones that they become accustomed to during your relationship. Simply put, it's going to be a huge change to your ex's life. But if you continue to talk with your ex all the time after breaking up, if you allow yourself to continue being their emotional outlet, their confidant, the person that they can text or call anytime they're lonely, they're going to have time to adjust. The emotions won't be nearly as intense or shocking for your ex as they would be if you just suddenly vanished from their life entirely. And that's going to, as we've already discussed, give them time to slowly adapt and learn to live without you. They won't miss you nearly as much as they would if you immediately and completely disappear after the breakup. Number 2, reminders of things they've lost. Now, I think I've explained very clearly why no contact and disappearing from your life, from your ex's life, as much as possible is critical to making them miss you. But there are actually a few other things that also make an ex miss you. And let's start with reminders of the positive aspects of you and your relationship. So if your ex is regularly reminded of your best traits and the best parts of your old relationship, they're going to feel nostalgic and they're going to long to have those things back. So for example, if you're funny and you could often make your ex laugh, then they're going to miss those jokes. And any reminder of your sense of humor is going to bring those feelings back to the surface for your ex. They'll remember how you could always make them laugh and wish that you were still around now to, crack a joke and make them smile. Or similarly, maybe you were really good at being supportive of their schoolwork or their budding career. You'd let them vent their frustrations after a long day of classes or a long day at the office, and they look to you for encouragement and support. If you remind them how helpful you were in that way when you were still together, they wished you were still around to provide that support and encouragement, then they're going to focus on the fact that they've lost that since breaking up. Or as a final example, maybe you and your ex shared a lot of adventures together when you traveled every weekend. You went camping, hiking, backpacked around Europe, and so on. But now their travel companion is gone. And so any reminder of those happy times that you shared and of the adventures that you went on together, it's going to bring back a flood of nostalgic memories. And it's going to cause them to long for a travel partner like that again to share their adventures with. Number 3, forgetting about negative aspects and memories. So another thing that makes your ex miss you is their own memory or lack thereof. So if your ex has time to let go of some of the most negative memories and feelings towards you and towards your past relationship, or if they focus less on those things and instead think more about the happier, positive parts of you and your time together, that's going to make them miss you. Now, this can also include your ex, internally downplaying the logical reasons for the breakup that they use to justify it in their mind. So for example, maybe you live quite far apart and they always hated the long drive to see one another. But now, if they begin to let go of those memories and fixate less on how annoying that drive was, if they start to tell themselves that it really wasn't that bad having to drive for an hour each way to hang out with you, well, that's going to make them wish that you were around and it's going to make them miss you. Now, for the most part, this really isn't something that you can actually control, other than to give your ex time and space to start forgetting about the negatives and the downsides to your relationship. Now, this will happen on its own over time, at least as long as you don't remind them of any old problems or reasons for breaking up by mentioning them or doing those same things again in order to bring them back to the top of your ex's mind. Studies have actually shown that humans are hardwired to forget about sad, painful, or negative memories more quickly than happy ones, and that often peaks right around 30 days after a breakup. And number 4, jealousy. Now, this final one is a bit different, but it does also make your ex miss you in a way. So if your ex feels jealous, be that because they find out you're dating somebody new, you've been hanging out with mutual friends without them, or even just because they see that you're doing fun and exciting stuff and just living life to the fullest since the breakup, that's going to make them feel like they're missing out. Now, while FOMO, or fear of missing out, isn't exactly the same kind of missing you as the previous 3 things we just discussed, it does still create those same emotions in your ex's mind. So the more you can live it up after the breakup, the more dates you go on, the more new friends you make, the more you succeed in work or school or in life in general, the more they're going to feel that FOMO and wish they were still around or that you were still part of their life. Now, just a quick warning here. Be careful trying to incite jealousy. Now, it is a very effective strategy when you use it properly, but honestly, most people don't, and that often backfires in a bad way. So at the very least, please visit my website, breakupbrad.com, and watch my full video tutorial to learn more about using my covert jealousy technique properly. Because as I said, jealousy can be super effective if used correctly, and it can be super dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So before you do start trying to make your ex jealous, go to breakupbrad.com and watch the free video to at least get some background info on when and how to properly incite jealousy in your ex. Okay, now let's move on. Now, I want to share just a couple of example text messages that you can send to your ex, if the time is right, of course, and you've already completed no contact, to help them miss you even more than they already do. So message number one is the good reminder text. Now, if you have watched my full free video tutorial at breakupbrad.com, or even some of my older videos here on YouTube, you might have already heard about this message. Basically, the good reminder text does exactly what it sounds like. It just reminds your ex of a good time. So to start, think of something that you and your ex shared together, be it a song, a place, a movie, a special day, and then come up with a message that will make him or her recall that memory in detail. So for instance, let's say that there's a song you used to listen to together. You could text your ex something like, "Hey, I heard our song on the radio today and it reminded me of that time we spent the weekend camping together under the stars. That was the most incredible weekend. Take me back." Anyway, hope all is well with you. Or as another example, maybe you used to watch a certain TV show together, then you can just blast off a text about the latest episode or a catchphrase from it that you both enjoyed. Obviously make these texts your own. Just remember, the more detailed you can be, the more effective this text is going to be. And I promise you that when you do think of a good idea for this kind of good reminder message, it's not going to sound nearly as cheesy or out of character as it probably sounds when I read this kind of thing aloud. Message number two is the mystery question text. Now, the mystery question message is one of my absolute favorites for two reasons. First, it's pretty hard to screw this one up, so it usually has a very low chance of backfiring on you. And secondly, it's very effective in making your ex curious and maybe even a bit jealous at the same time, without them even realizing your true intentions. So all this type of message involves is asking your ex a seemingly legitimate question that they're likely going to know the answer to, while simultaneously referencing a mysterious, unknown friend. So for example, you could say something like, "Hey, do you remember the name of that Thai restaurant we went to for your staff party last year? A friend from out of town is visiting this weekend and I really want to take her there." So do you see what I mean there? You're asking a legitimate, reasonable question. What's the name of that restaurant? But you're also subtly hinting that you're taking a mysterious, new friend there. Now that's going to likely generate a reply, and it's likely to get your ex wondering who this, out of town mystery friend is. Now, it's best if the friend is a real person, not just, made up, and it's also best if they're of the opposite sex. But definitely don't give your ex any more details about this person other than to just mention them as a friend, to ensure that your ex wonders who they are and what your relationship, about this person or with this person actually is. So another example might be something like, "Hey, I'm helping a friend decorate his new apartment this weekend. Can you recommend your favorite furniture store in town?" Again, it's simple and innocuous sounding, right? Really, all you need to do in order to use this text message to your advantage is to think up a good, legitimate question to ask your ex. And that's why it's one of the easiest and most effective messages that you can send. Message number three, reference an inside joke or just make your ex smile. So any kind of message that either references a shared inside joke that only your ex will understand, something from your time together that they won't have forgotten about, is a good way to remind them of the special, unique bond that you shared when you were still a couple. And honestly, any message that is pretty much guaranteed to make your ex crack a smile or laugh when they read it is also going to help them miss having you around. Now, don't force it or try to act out of character, but if you can come up with something that your ex will smile at, then it's probably a good message that's going to help induce those feelings of missing you. Okay, those are a few ideas for messages that you can send after no contact to help your ex miss you even more than they already do. Now let's move on to the final part of this video and quickly cover some of the top signs to look for that indicate that your ex already does indeed miss you. Now, like I said, it is likely that your ex already misses you to some extent, even if you haven't done anything that I've already talked about so far in this video. But there are some key signs to look for that show that you're making progress and that clearly indicate that your ex does miss you. Sign number one, they initiate contact. So if your ex is reaching out on their own initiative, and especially if they're doing so frequently and for no real apparent reason other than to just talk to you or see what you're up to, then they clearly miss you and long to catch up and hear from you. The more often they contact you, the stronger of a sign this really is. And sign number two is that they want to stay friends. So if your ex has suggested that you should remain friends after breaking up, it means they can't stomach the idea of losing you entirely. They want to keep you around to help alleviate some of the heartache and loneliness that they're feeling. And they know, even on the subconscious level, that keeping a friendship alive is a good way to slowly let go of you and adapt to life without you. Now, if they seem to be really insistent on this idea and get offended when you decline and suggest that it's probably not a good idea, the more likely it is they're conflicted about breaking up and they're very worried about how much they'll miss you if you disappear from their life entirely. Now, don't do this, by the way. If you do want them back, don't let yourself fall into the friend zone. Okay, and sign number 3 is they are emotional. So the more your ex appears to be struggling with the breakup, the more they're hurting and missing you. It's really that simple. So if you hear from mutual friends that your ex is completely heartbroken and barely functioning, or if their social media posts are nothing but an endless series of sad quotes or lyrics, it really means that they miss you and they're having trouble adapting to the post-breakup reality now that you're gone. And sign number 4 is they get jealous. Now this one is extremely simple, but an ex that doesn't care whether you're dating somebody new or who doesn't get curious when you mention your new friend of the opposite sex probably doesn't really miss you much. But if you can tell they're jealous, really for any reason at all, there's a good chance that this means that they do miss you. Sign number 5, they tell you they miss you. Well, there's a shocker. If your ex explicitly says that they miss you, then they're almost certainly telling the truth. So there's plenty of reason for optimism if your ex does say this to you outright, and especially if they say it more than once. But don't jump the gun and take this as a cue to start spamming them or gushing your heart out, telling them how much you miss them too. If you do hear this from your ex, just play it cool, act like you don't really care that they miss you, and let them wonder why you didn't respond with something similar. Now, I actually made a video on exactly this topic a few months ago, which I will link to in the description if you want to learn more about how to react when your ex tells you that they miss you. Now, before I wrap this video up, I have one more suggestion that you really should take to heart, and that is to find out where you stand with your ex currently and what your chances of ever getting them back really are. Now, you can find that out just by taking 3 or 4 minutes to complete my free quiz at breakupbrad.com/quiz. When you answer some simple quiz questions about your breakup situation, you're going to get a score out of 100, showing your chances of getting them back, and you'll also get a series of personalized recommendations on what to do next in order to maximize your odds and ensure that you do eventually end up back in their arms. Again, find out how likely it is your ex will take you back by taking my free quiz right now at breakupbrad.com/quiz. Thank you so much for watching, folks, especially all the way to the end here. Please consider subscribing to my channel and leave a comment below if you have any questions or feedback for me. I read all the comments on my videos, and I do my best to reply to as many as I possibly can. And that's it. So good luck out there, and I will see you again in the next video.